everyone, happy Thursday. I'm going to do something a bit different today, so I'm not going to go through the answers to the comprehension. I'm going to post those on Class Dojo for you because on Monday I'm going to post a link for you. We have a virtual authors event with an author called Sam Copeland, and he has got a new book called Uma and the Answer to Absolutely Everything. And he's going to be talking about his new book live, and I think there's a chance to ask him questions as well. So I've managed to get a copy of the first 2 chapters of the book. So I'm going to read 1 chapter to you today, and I'll read another chapter to you tomorrow, so that then you've heard the first part of the book before his event on Monday. So it's called Chapter 1, The Silent House. The first thing I need to tell you is that I'm not like the heroes you might have read about in other stories. Those children are born to be special, with prophecies and destinies and magical powers. I'm not one of those. I'm normal at the beginning of the story, and I'm normal at the end. I was just lucky, and anybody can be lucky. My name is Uma Nudderson, and I am the narrator of this book. I don't have much of an imagination, and I've always struggled in English lessons to think up clever, twisting stories with wild plots and weird characters, so I'm going to have to tell you a real life story. And what I'm about to tell you is completely, 100% true. Anyone who knows me says I'm the most honest person they've met, apart from when I lie, but I only ever do that for a good reason, so you have to believe everything I say. Nothing like what happened to me will ever take place again, and that's why this book is not only the first book I've ever narrated, but will also be the last. Let me tell you something about myself to start with, because I am the main character in this story, so there's simply no avoiding it. Firstly, the G in my surname is not silent, just so you don't get it wrong the whole time. My name is pronounced Uma Gernudson. My dad is half Indian and half Swedish, and that's why I have such an unusual name. My dad also has the bushiest caterpillar eyebrows in the whole world and hair coming out of his ears. Lexi Bramblin says my ears are so big they make me look like a gigantic football trophy, but she's the meanest, most horrible girl in the whole of Tinley-on-Sea. She leads a gang of bullies who make everyone's life at school a misery, so I just try to ignore her. I think my eyebrows are quite normal. I'm top of my year group for vocabulary because I read so many books, and every time I find a new word I put it in my own personal dictionary that I've been writing. I'm not top of the year group for having friends. I sometimes wonder if writing my own dictionary and not having many friends might be connected in some way. My hair is blonde with very tight curls and so thick I can hide things in it. Seriously, sweets, rubbers, everything. Except silly putty. Now that was a bad experiment. My dad was hacking it out of my hair for days. I'm going to start my story on the day that 4 exciting things happened. To create tension and build anticipation, I should tell you about them in order of excitement. Number 1, not that exciting. School finished for summer. When the bell rang, I ran outside as quickly as possible, trying to avoid Lexi and her gang, which is when the second thing happened. Number 2, quite exciting. On the way to the playground, Madeline Gilligan was sick all over the back of Lexi's head. Now, I know I shouldn't have laughed at that, but Lexi had just made up a new nickname for me, so I don't feel too bad about it. Number 3, really exciting. When I got home, who was there to greet me but old Alan Carrington? Alan is my best friend in the whole village. He lives next door, but he goes away to boarding school each term, and I couldn't have been happier that he was back for the summer holidays. He's my age, a bit smaller than me, wears glasses, which makes him look clever, and likes inventing really cool things. And he always seems to have the answers to whatever questions I can think of, and I have lots of questions. For instance, questions I've thought about just today are: why do old people shrink? What's the most disgusting animal in the world? How do I stop bullies? If I could eat myself, would I get twice as big, or would I disappear? Are my ears closer to me, or are my feet closer to me? And there's a picture of him there. Anyway, all my life, Alan has said he's the cleverest person ever. It was him who taught me all the capitals of the world, like how Paris is the capital of France, Rome is the capital of Italy, and Brathurst is the capital of Germany. He taught me that running in your slippers makes you go 10% faster, and that's why slippers were banned from the Olympics, and that goats are actually baby llamas. As well as being the cleverest person in the world, he's also the bravest. For instance, last summer we were at his house and a wasp flew in through the window. I was terrified, but Alan Allen bravely opened the door and ran out screaming and waving his hands in the air. Unfortunately, this didn't lure the wasp away from me, as he said afterwards had been his plan. Eventually, the wasp flew back out the window, and when I shouted to Alan Allen, telling him the wasp had gone, he ran straight back in to check I was okay. Well, anyway, I thought he was the bravest and cleverest person in the world until I found out he was actually quite the opposite, as you'll see later. I suspect the whole wearing glasses thing was merely a disguise. He certainly had me fooled, and now I'm not sure about any of the capitals of the world. The most exciting, number 4. I found the thing that changed my life, the fate of the whole village and everything, and it all started with a drunk alpaca. I shall come to that shortly, but first I need to jump back to Alan Allen Carrington because he was with me when the most exciting thing happened. As usual, when I got home from school, the house was completely silent. My house was always silent. My dad had hardly spoken since Mum died. We didn't have a television, and we never had music or the radio playing. We'd been a musical family once, and the house always used to be filled with the sound of the violin, which my mum taught. When she played, the sound swept and echoed through the house, flying from room to room like a bird. And wherever I was, I closed my eyes and my heart soared. My dad would join in with his guitar sometimes. I was learning the flute and got quite good. When we played together, my dad would whoop and stamp his foot, and I would giggle, and my mum would lead us with her violin, pulling us all along in something that resembled harmony. The guitar and violin now sat in their cases, untouched and unused. Every so often, I would take the violin out and run my fingers over the wood where it used to rest in the crook of Mum's neck, asking myself the same question again and again, the question with no answer. I didn't practice the flute anymore. Nobody visited us either, and I don't blame them, to be honest. The only 2 noises you heard in the house were the echoing sound of footsteps on the wooden floors and the occasional buzz of a little electric train. Dad had always loved model trains. Mum let him build a track in the basement, even though she wanted to turn it into a music practice room. But after she died, the track began to grow unchecked. It started to creep its way out of the basement, across the hall, up the stairs, and its rails now stretched through the whole house, snaking in and out of every room, under chairs, over tables, weaving among the dead plants. And dead plants were everywhere in our house. And I mean everywhere. On windowsills, on tables, on shelves, dead ivy clung to the walls. My dad had forgotten to water them after Mum died, and so now we live in a wilderness of dried, dead plants and a tangle of railway tracks. Along the tracks, Dad had built a scale model of Tinley-on-Sea, the obelisk on top of Beggar's Hill, the church of St Mary in the centre of the village, all the houses and shops, the station and the pub, and people with hands stuck forever in the air waiting to wave as the train whizzed by. In fact, when I walked in, Dad was at the kitchen table, hunched over, painting a tiny model of our post person. "Hi, Dad," I said brightly. "School's finished for the summer." I stood waiting for a moment, hoping for a reply, even though I knew I wouldn't get one. "Dad," I continued, "do you know why humans aren't covered in fur like monkeys?" I was used to Dad not answering my questions now. He always used to answer everything. He was even cleverer than Alan Allen. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I haven't got that far in. I've still got quite a little bit more of chapter 1. However, I can hear that the whistle has just gone outside, and I know if I carry on now, I'm very, very likely to have somebody barge in. So I will stop there, and I will read you a little bit more and try and post that for you. So you've got chapter 1, and then I will also post chapter 2 for you tomorrow. Now, I will also post the PDF to this and the link for the event on Monday. So we're going to be doing it in school. If you want to do it on Monday, then you just need to click on the link and you can give that a go, but it's something a little bit different then for you, and hopefully it will be nice because you'll be doing it at home and we'll be doing it at school, and maybe it will give us something that we can talk about through the week. Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy. Bye everyone.